Dotson. I'm a primary challenger to President Biden. I've asked for this press conference today in light of information I've heard about the Ward 7 race in Minneapolis. I'm very concerned that there wasn't proper vetting to know Scott Graham's candidacy and what he said about this nation being built by white people. I've got a reliable source that Scott Graham was given psychological testing and found to have racist attitudes and beliefs and went through the diversity training. And we need to be more careful about who we endorse for local, national racism. I feel like the residents of Ward 7 deserve to know this information before they vote tomorrow. Because the city has gone through a very traumatic chapter and we're trying to recover from that chapter. And if there's racism in our elected officials, in a time like this, it's only going to work against the mission that's in front of us. We're going through the crucial. So I've asked for representatives of Ward 7's races, Ken Foxworth, Katie Cashman, to speak about what we've learned before tomorrow's election. So I turn it over to Katie Cashman.
Well, I'm here in solidarity with Ken and providing a statement to the reporters who are here, just to let them know that I have really appreciated learning from Ken throughout this campaign, and I think he's an exemplary Ward 7 resident, and that folks should vote with their values on election day. That's all I'm here to say, nothing negative about either opponent in this race, just telling the folks at Ward 7 that Ken is honest, decent, hard-working person who's done a lot for our community and that I've really enjoyed getting to know. So that's why I'm here, just to show some support.
And my name is Will Moore. I am Kenneth Foxworth campaign manager. I stand here today to represent our campaign and encourage everyone to, focus on elections, local elections. Right now at this time is very critical, and I am here to speak on the behalf of our campaign because the rumors was that we weren't campaigning enough. People wasn't seeing our work in the community that we were actually doing. They dismissed us, pretty much said that we weren't out here working as hard as them, right? So I'm here to enlighten you guys with the work that we have done, which is we collected over 1,000 names to get signatures, to get our name on the ballot before even going down there and paying a ballot fee. We wanted to engage with the community directly so they know who we are as a campaign and the reason why we're doing this. And our concerns have been safety the whole campaign. And that's because we are dealing with real issues out here in the city of Minneapolis that's impacting our youth, our seniors, folks that is mentally ill and disabled and vulnerable adults. We need to focus on healing and rebuilding our people firsthand versus dismissing them and not noticing them and calling them invisible, right? Because we're not invisible. We all are standing for what we stand for, and I just want to say we work so hard. Kenneth Foxworth has been a mentor of mine since I was a teenager. Since I was at Edison High School, I graduated from this program called the ACE program, and Kenneth has done fabulous, fantastic work, and so have Katie, and so I'm encouraging everyone here today to understand our truth. We're not bashing Scott. We never bashed him at all. Scott went over to People Building and did a meet and greet, and it was a resident that was part of our campaign that was there at the meeting and happened to record his responses. Scott mentioned during the meeting that we are not working as hard as him, that our campaign do not exist and there's only going to be two people that you can support in this race, and that's him and Katie. And he also said that he needs more money when he was endorsed by Lisa Goodman, Jacob Fry, Star Tribune, and DeWanna Witt as well. So I just want to encourage the folks that has endorsed him to really understand that we value people at the end of the day. We don't value real estate. And so when you go out to the polls tomorrow, just keep that in mind, that Ken Foxworth campaign value people, Katie Cashman campaign value people. Please support us, number one or number two. Thank you.
Our nation was not built just by white people. America's original sin is racism. Millions of blacks were brought here as slaves. As a Cherokee, my people were dispossessed. The Chinese built our railroads. The Latinos worked our fields. This nation is built by the BIPOC community. And there's a movement of reparations in California, here in Minnesota. We need to understand this journey we're on. And if there's people speaking ignorance, running for office, that needs to be challenged. They need to be held accountable. And so anyone that endorsed Scott Graham, I encourage you to reconsider that endorsement in light of what we've shared with you today. Any questions?
What would you like to see from Scott Graham's campaign?
I would like to see evidence that he's reformed himself in light of the testing that he had, in light of the training that he had. How is it that you're saying to residents that this nation was built by white people?
Also, we would like for him to do a public apology to our campaign for dismissing our work and saying that our communities are invisible, because he's not in the areas or working in the position or in the spaces that we're working in, right? So he's not going to Youth Link, he's not going to these shelters, he's not going to adult mental transit housing and connecting with the people that's actually struggling firsthand in the city. He's dealing with corporate, right? Key players that's already circulated funding through the city. So we would like him to publicly apologize for dismissing our campaign and also dismissing the community, which is majority of people of color. Because if you cannot be a voice for all, then you cannot be a representative at all.
I have a question for the two candidates, if they could come up.
I'm here to represent Kenneth Foxworth.
Okay.
Katie Cashman, if you mind. Thank you.
There's no mic stand, so maybe it's silly, but is this a pact between you two of second choice? I have a question of mechanics on this the day before
No,
election.
I have told my supporters about Ken because I would encourage them, to consider all of the candidates. And I don't tell people how to vote, 1, 2. I just let them know that there are 3 candidates, that we have ranked choice voting, and that you can pick your top 1, 2, or 3 based on your ideologies and based on your values, and that you should use your values to pick your city council candidate.
And Ken, the same question for
It's
you.
the same thing as what Kay said. We are in a position where we've been saying this over and over. We got each other's back, even when we stopped. We have not been in a position of just saying, this is why we're standing. We just want to tell you the truth.
And that's why we're so hurt.
That's why we're hurt.
Because we have been mutually in partnership throughout this whole campaign. We're all represented from the Democratic Party. We all align with the same values. So for Scott to dismiss our work and dismiss Kenneth as a human, this is humanity that we're talking about now. We're not talking about race. We're talking about him as a human, all the work that he has done, all the service that he has given to this community over the past 40 years. He has raised 3 generations. He has ran 300 miles to give sponsors and grant money to students at the U of M to attend the U of M with mental disabilities and people of color. And they still use this sponsor and this grant funding to this day for students to attend the U of M. This man ran in the snow, the sleet, in the rain to do that. He has been present in the schools, Minneapolis schools, St. Paul schools, Park Board, Park and Rec, you name it. He's been strong union throughout his whole life. You cannot just dismiss that and ignore that. So we are hurt that Scott would go in spaces and express to others that our campaign isn't real and that we decided not to use the DFL van system, right, that they're familiar with. Everyone used this system that's called the van to calculate their numbers, to see who's door knocking who's calling who. We chose to use the raw way. We went and got raw data and we calculated things that way. And I wanted to do it the professional or the old school way like that, because like I mentioned, I'm his campaign manager. So we could show them that we are able to build a movement without their, system.
So just to be clear, you're not telling your supporters, please vote for Katie number 2.
We are encouraging our supporters to support either Kenneth Foxworth or Katie Cashman, yes. And reason why now, that's as of after all this occurred. Because we cannot have someone that is fuddled and confused with who they're representing. They gotta be clear on who they're representing and recognize that we all matter.
If I could just add one thing, we have a deeply diverse city and an extremely diverse Ward 7 as well. So it's really important that all voices are included. And no matter who wins tomorrow to be the next Ward 7 City Council member, they must be committed to dismantling racism and systems of oppression.
Absolutely.
So what I heard from Scott say is he basically said this country was built for people like me, and he also said something about on the lines of this was what he was like. This was like what his I guess it's like what I guess I heard it as like he was trying to acknowledge the fact that he has white privilege, but also he might have like I guess I'm trying to understand
So,
like what issues did you have?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will clarify this. So he mentioned that this country was built by white people, right? He didn't say white. He said people that look like him. Okay? And then he went back and said that he knows that this country wasn't built for people that look like him, right? And acknowledging his white privilege. But where, in his title, but where he messed up is, he said as long as he is at the head of the table, he appreciated our voice and our opinion is there at the table as well. So as long as you're kind of daring the situation, it's okay for us to have a seat at the table as long as you control it. And that's where we have an issue, because you're not the best representative for the minorities at that point. When you say that you think, because you got all these endorsements and you have a couple people of color that's endorsing you, that you have worked with and have accepted you, but that doesn't make you the best representative for everyone in the board, right? Because you haven't went to these spaces, and if you did go to these spaces, you will understand how much work we have done throughout this campaign, because we've been active in these spaces. So that's my response to that.
And to couple what he confided, that he's received psychological testing, has been flagged for racist beliefs and attitudes, and received diversity training. If you've had testing and training, why are you still saying statements like, this nation was built by people like me? not acknowledging the BIPOC community and the oppression and the racism for centuries. I mean,
Is it a question of the preposition?
Yes.
Whether he said,
He said
by
for.
people like me, you're
For.
saying not the physical labor, but or for people like me,
What he
as
said
in
for. Right.
acknowledging his privilege.
I heard racial insensitivity in how he framed it, to dismiss the blood, sweat, and tears that built this nation. All that labor, the redlining,